All right, let me do some very quick housekeeping while people are streaming in. Tomorrow we have a top talk with me. The topic is seeing opportunity. The next day, which is Thursday, we have a top advisor office hours with Heather Monahan. Heather, as you guys know, is one of our top advisors for public speaking, and she is going to talk about public speaking. She actually just got back from Saudi Arabia, and she spoke to about 200,000 people there. But she's also going to talk about mind movies, which she's obsessed with. So that will be very interesting. And keep checking on her School of Hard Knocks interview. So if you've ever seen the guy on Instagram that walks up to people on the street, anyway, he walked up to her, interviewed her, and hers went absolutely viral. Last time I checked, it was well over 40 million views. So just like off the charts, crazy. In terms of like our Legends events and our author spotlights, on May 6th, we have an author spotlight with Bonnie Wan, who wrote the Life Brief. And on May 13th, we have Red Sox Hall of Famer Dwight Evans joining us. For anyone who is new to one of these calls, our format is super casual. Kathleen and I are going to do like a 30-minute fireside chat. And then we're going to open it up for 30 minutes of live Q&A. So if you have a question, just put in the chat that you've got a question, and then Kathy will let me know, and I'll tee you up, and you can ask your question directly to, I call her KG, so we're going to call her KG today. Anyway, Kathleen Griffith is easily, to me, one of the most brilliant entrepreneurs that I know, which is saying a lot because I know a lot of entrepreneurs. She's the founder and CEO of Grace & Company, which she founded, I think, around 11 years ago. She works with some of the top brands in the world. She's the founder of Build. She's a USA Today best-selling author of this book, Build Like a Woman. She's been interviewed by Oprah. Who has been interviewed by Oprah? Nobody. Well, not a lot of people that we know. And she has produced and starred in Side Hustlers, which is Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine Company. So we're going to get into it with Kathleen in 1 second, but Kathy, get us started. Mike Perlow, thank you for the introduction. KG, what do you think?
Wow, so many familiar faces on there.
Yeah?
Well,
Lots of them. Lots of them.
Love it.
All rock stars like you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I just have to say, you know, I've always believed in being in community, and it's been one of the most beneficial things in the world for me. I think, you know, anyone who's here who's just carving out time to want to be around other like-minded people, and we all learn from each other. It's so totally awesome. So this is actually one of the first forums I've ever been in like this, where it's kind of a community gathering. So I'm psyched to be here. This is a first for me.
Well, I could not be happier. You are easily one of my favorite entrepreneurs. and very cool that we're now neighbors, which I love.
Yeah. Should we tell the story of our dinner that I tried to make for you?
Your dinner was phenomenal. What are you talking about?
You and Meg. Okay, so everyone, real quick, funny story. So I wanted to have Scott and his amazing wife over for dinner. We live in the same town. I'm there part of the year. And so I asked for a list of what they can eat. And the list was like 100 pages long of dietary restrictions, no cheese, right? Whole lot of things. So, and I'm not a good cook, so it was terrifying. But we figured it out. I think when all is
I gave you KG, I gave you a lot of credit because literally it was like Meg's the most picky eater on the face of the earth. I can't eat cheese, which also means other things. And so but created a absolutely spectacular dinner.
And I only cook like 4 times a year. So
wow. So I feel even more blessed. It was awesome. And I owe your dad, I got to return the book at some point.
Yeah, he's looking for it. He was looking for it.
Tell him it's on its way.
Okay.
All right, KJ, let's start here. Let's talk about the come up. Growing up outside of New York City, the interesting thing is you were kind of an entrepreneur at a young age, and I saw the funniest little clip of you. I don't know how old you were, but you were doing this whole businesswoman thing. Absolutely amazing. Tell us about that, because then you didn't go the entrepreneurial route, but tell us about your early beginnings growing up outside of New York City.
Well, I think my story is like a lot of us, where I was a born entrepreneur. And so I would sell on the loudspeaker every single morning. I had something called the Snack Attack Pack. And I just love the idea of like, you could buy candy and snacks and then sell it for more than you bought it for and have all this pocket money. It was just like so thrilling. I was talking to Mark Randolph, who's the co-founder of Netflix, and he was saying that candy arbitrage is an early indicator for being an entrepreneur. And so that was really it. I was always like selling something. I had a TV show with imaginary brand sponsors, why I needed 15 90s brand sponsors to support my show. It's like so ridiculous. A book club, it's a miracle I had any friends. But I think for a lot of women in particular, like we have this born inbred, hustle and drive. And then societally, you kind of go the more expected traditional route. And so I was, good girl bred, kind of people pleaser bred. And so went and did the corporate thing, got the normal job, got all the things I was supposed to get on paper, and just found myself to be like absolutely miserable.
So so she graduated from UNC Chapel Hill, and you followed the script to pretty notable success until kind of the corporate script didn't work anymore. You write about this in the book, but talk about the big B and the little b, and tell us how you came to the realization that the corporate stuff wasn't going to cut it in the future.
Yeah, so we can actually play this out with everyone on the call too, to see if this has resonance for anyone with where you are in life. But I love this concept of big B breakdowns and little b breakdowns. And when we think about breakdowns, we tend to think about someone who's like wholly mentally unstable, right? Like they're a puddle on the floor to be avoided. And what I came to find as I was speaking to and studying from great just leaders and risk takers is that, breaking down is part of the building process. Like if you're up to big things, things are constantly going to be breaking down. And so I really wanted a way to codify that in my own life so there wasn't so much shame around it. And so what I found out is that there's kind of 2 types of breakdowns. There's big B, which are those cataclysmic life events that just blindside you, right? That bring you to your knees. That's everything from a divorce, finding out, your partner's cheating on you. I've been there. Losing your home, losing your job, right? Finding out someone you love is sick, death of a loved one, right? Like those are big B breakdowns, and those just hit you upside the head. You're forced to kind of confront them. Usually they're externally driven. And then there are what I call these little b breakdowns. And those are harder to identify it's lack of alignment. It's feeling that something isn't quite right in your life, right? It's walking into a room and feeling like your voice isn't heard, or you can't totally self-express yourself. Being in a relationship that there's nothing quite wrong with it, but it also doesn't really make you feel alive and joyful. And so, and those tend to be more internally driven. Like you experience that more internally with yourself, and they take longer. They take longer to kind of unravel, and you start to get those hints. And what I found, which is so interesting, is that the more you surrender to the breakdown that's happening in your life, and I'm sure at any moment, right, like we could probably light it up in here with whether you're experiencing like a big B breakdown or a little B breakdown. I don't know. I'd love to see in the comments, like if someone's in a little B or someone's in a big B right now. I'm in the midst of a big B right now, and I'm just reminding myself, like, it's a time for celebration, because what it means is that something big in direct proportion to the size of the breakdown is coming for you. And ironically, the more you surrender to it, the faster it will come into your life. And so for me, that became just a huge shift. Scott, you'd asked about one of the bigger ones for me in my life. And that was working in a corporate job. And I just remember going out with a friend, this story, for pizza. And they looked at me, I was like dead-eyed, dead-faced. And they just said, you look like a walking zombie, basically. And I walked home that night, 40 some odd blocks in the pouring rain. The light was kind of shimmering off the pavement. And this coach, I'd gone to a group with a woman named Tama Keeves, who's a Harvard-trained lawyer, professor, just extremely brilliant woman. And in that coaching session, she had said, if you're this successful doing what you don't love, imagine how successful you'd be doing what you do love. And like, that haunted me. So that was a breakdown of sorts professionally that then led to this amazing breakthrough where I finally had the courage to kind of make the leap and start my own brand consulting firm.
And you've had incredible success with Grace & Co. So you have a lot of credibility in writing this book. Walk us through who this book was written for, and why the blueprint you detail can lead to the business and the life that we all can fall in love with.
Can I just say also, this is so neat. There's like big B's happening left, right, and center, leaving the military after 26 years, like, holy hell, what a transition. Job search, not knowing you were going to do that, walking away from a job 2 months ago to start a business. Little B, like something that's nagging right now. Someone said they're getting them daily. It's just so cool. Yeah, it's like we're not alone in it, right? So we've got to talk about it. Now your question escaped me. So what were you asking?
Who did you write Build Like a Woman? Because I think I wrote in my review, I don't know that this was written for a woman specifically, because I think it applies to everybody. Yeah. But you really talk about that blueprint for creating a business and a life you love. Walk us through kind of high level the book.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote the book, to your point. I think it has application for everyone, and we've got a lot of men who've read the book and have loved it, and it's certainly intended for all, like whomever has that kind of mindset and is a learner, and it takes a very strong person to walk around with that book too. If you are a guy, it's for everyone. But I really wanted also something that just spoke to, as a woman, my lived experience navigating a world of a lot of guys in business who were really successful and feeling like at times there was a bit of a tilted court, and feeling like there was a power imbalance where I didn't necessarily know how to relate in business, and with some of the high powered, I've dealt with exceedingly high powered men predominantly in the C-suite of Fortune 100 companies. And so I wanted a book that would have been written for me, essentially, which is why I wrote it and kind of targeted women. The book, as it breaks down, is half mindset and half skill set. Because what I found is that we're taught a lot in business, those hardcore skill sets, right? Like everything from sales to marketing strategy to pitching to targeting, right? And I'm a trained ninja in those skills. I've been, was trained by the best in how to build a business, how to scale a business using those sorts of things. But what I then found was that as a business owner myself, I was then cobbling kind of a life on top of that. And so it was very Frankenstein and very off center. And so I really wanted to create a business book that really blended almost like peak performance and mindset with all the traditional business skill sets. So we actually start with mindset, like getting your mind right. We go through everything from breakdowns, as we just did, to having a vision, to building a team, to figuring out what sort of leader you want to become. And then once you have the foundation in place, the idea is to, launch into the skill sets off the back of that. So it's the way I really wish I'd learned it. It would have saved me a lot of pain and heartache, but hopefully for someone who's just starting out or is actually doing the courageous work of bringing their business back down to the studs and, rebuilding, I think it's a really great place to be. There's a ton of bang for your buck in that book.
And now you're building also Build. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Build is a platform for all to really just live your best, highest possible life. I've felt so stuck at times. Everyone I deal with who are up to big things, often feel stuck and depleted and diminished and exhausted. And so I'm in the throes right now of just building, a place where people can go to feel inspired at the highest level. So we're doing a lot in television and kind of building out a media company, all the way on down to really having practical kind of actionable tools that people can use, whether it be workshops, the book, launching a experiential retail space where people can shop, brands started by entrepreneurs. So lots happening.
And a phenomenal newsletter. And I don't say that lightly because I don't think there are a lot of great newsletters out there, but subscribe to the newsletter. It's really, really good. KJ, you have, I think, one of many, many things I admire about you is I think you are a unbelievable communicator. You just have an ability to communicate in a very crystal clear way. And I'm wondering, is it something that you think you've been taught and has become something that you're strategic with, or is it just DNA that you inherited from Eleanor and Peter? I don't know.
So I love the idea. Someone had said, we all have like a zone of genius in the best form of communication for ourselves. And for some people, it's written, that could be long form, that could be short form. Some people are really quick with like Twitter level sound bites, right? Some people can write books, of hundreds of pages to everything in between. Some people do better in video and communicating that way, more verbally. Some people do really well with small groups, other people with much larger groups and on stage and doing, big keynote presentations. And so I would just say for anyone, I think just have fun with trying on different mediums for size, and see where you feel the most alive and where the resonance really is. I just in the past 2 years, Scott, as you know, have really experimented with being in new spaces. So for the longest time was just a worker bee, rolled up my sleeves. I was behind the scenes. I was doing the work. And so my communication was like in emails for the most part. I think I was a horrible emailer, really good at writing decks. I still don't know how to sign an email. Like, what is the right signature? What is the right opening you should use? They all feel so like trite. It's like, hope all is well. It's been a while. But I learned, which is so cool. Like, I love public speaking, and it's a huge fear for a lot of people, right? Like getting on a big stage and delivering a keynote. And I like fell in love with it. And I would never have known that had I not just tried public speaking for the first time as kind of a new communication medium. I fell in love with writing long form, books. I don't like the editing process, but that was like a totally new thing too. So, yeah, I would just say you never know until you try, and it's like a new muscle that you can learn to kind of flex, and then you study the greats. Like I've just been in training, learning, like watching everyone's TED Talks, and taking notes on like Tony Robbins. Yeah, I did a list of the top 10 speakers, I want to emulate. I went and trained with like one of the great speaking coaches who was like, you've got a lot of potential, and so just to kind of have that beginner's mindset too, I think really helps.
Yeah, I think you're good at it. You're a rarity in that you're good at everything. And I've said this before, when you do Instagram stuff, when you do your walking thing where you are just dropping these knowledge bombs, they're unbelievable. It's like, I need more cowbell. I need more of that. So good.
That's an area where I'm actually the most insecure, is in social media. Yeah, I hate social media. Like it doesn't feel deep enough or rich enough or authentic enough. And so, I've been like, I've struggled with that a little bit. How do you like bring in the real,
Yeah. I was just on a call right before this with a woman in Australia, which was nuts because it was 4:30 in the morning for her. And we were talking about how similar we are because we want to move fast with everything. And that's one of the other things that I really admire about you is you're not afraid to take messy action. And I think we live in a world where a lot of people, they have to have everything figured out before they get off the dime. And that's not your MO. Talk about the power of, I'll just call it messy action.
Yeah, I mean, that's really new for me. So I think my operating system for the first decade of my own business, after I went out on my own, having worked in corporate, was because of all that corporate training, it was perfection. So I'd spend like 3 years before launching the TV show. The book took 5 years, like these things I had like a death grip on releasing into the world. And I think part of that was just being afraid, honestly, of getting negative feedback, of no one reading the book, of no one watching the show, of like, you think something's great in your mind's eye and then you put it out there and it just sinks. And so because of just a whole load of things, one, not having just the energy or bandwidth to have that sort of like level of perfection anymore. And two, wanting to run like a leaner, more efficient team. I've just started putting more things out as like social experiments and trial balloons, and let's see if people like it or don't, and good, not perfect. I love the Reshma Saljani saying, like, just be brave, make it good. Like good enough is good enough. And I think people see the effort. So that's new. That's very new for me, but I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. It's not as scary as I thought it was going to be,
No, you're good at it. Here's another thing that I think you're good at. And I don't even know if you know that you're good at this. I think this is super important in business, especially if you're an entrepreneur. I think you're good at saying no. That is a really hard thing for a lot of people to do. How did you come to that place where no felt okay?
So I've got a little test for myself that I call the 60-second pause. And when anything kind of comes at me, right, because we're constantly being thrown new opportunities. Do you want to do this PTA thing? Do you want to network with this person? Do you want to pick each other's brains? Whatever it is, I put it in my body for 60 seconds. And I see, like, does it make me feel like a big confident version of myself or a small version of myself? Does it feel hot? Does it feel cold? Does it feel abundant? Does it feel like scarcity? And it's so powerful because like we have such amazing intuition and knowing in ourselves when we can just drown out the noise and the expectation. And it really is usually in that moment, like a yes or a no. And if it's slow, chances are like, and you're slow in the process and you're hemming and hawing and you're gray, like it's also a no. Like it should be a no, a yes, you want to scream from the rooftops. And that has just opened up so much possibility for like new things coming in because I was able to say no. Am I still triggered? You know, last week, since we're in a safe forum, I got a really angry note from a woman who was pissed. And I get like hundreds of messages a day that I didn't respond to her. And how dare I? And do I even care about women? And, you know, yeah, it was paragraphs. And it pissed me off because I'm like, we deserve the right to one, say no. And we also deserve the right when we are participating in someone's business and giving business advice to be compensated for that time. Like this idea that everyone should just be giving free strategic counseling to each other when it's not a reciprocal relationship, like isn't good for anyone and is depleting. So yeah, it's a newer thing, but man, is it life-changing when you just like say no more often than you actually say yes to things. But I'm glad this was a yes. Like, I'm so happy to be here with all of you.
Me too. I only had to ask you like 20 times. So, you know, I got 19 no's and I finally got a yes. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is so fun in the book that I don't know that everyone's heard before is outrageous asks. So yeah. Our word is audacious this year. So I'm going to call them audacious asks, but tell us the life-changing properties of an audacious or outrageous ask.
Yeah, you can't rebrand outrageous ask.
I know. I'm trying.
But okay, so this is so fun. So, and I would challenge anyone on the call who's game for this. Like, let's play this game together to actually think of an outrageous ask you want to make and you want to fire out this week. So this really came from a place in my business where I felt like I had nothing to lose and everything to gain because I was like just starting out. No one really knew who I was. My business didn't have much traction. And so I was like, let's just start emailing, random people, big things. But the idea is essentially it's an ask. It's something that you want to the 10th exponent. So, and you have to be willing to demonstrate, like you are willing to take outrageous action to fulfill this ask. So just to give you guys a quick example of this, I was flying back from a business trip, watched Becoming Warren Buffett. Has anyone seen that movie?
Yeah.
Okay. So great. If you haven't seen it, it's such a good doc. Warren Buffett is like, just such a feminist. He's such a badass. I love that man. And so I emailed his office and I said, I'd love to fly to Omaha, Nebraska for 5 minutes of Mr. Buffett's time. I found out in the documentary that every single morning he does a drive-through at McDonald's where he gets an Egg McMuffin every single morning. So my proposal was, I only need 5 minutes of Mr. Buffett's time. I'm going to get in the car at the beginning of the drive-through, and I'm going to get out of the car at the end of the drive-through. That's it. I have one question to ask Mr. Buffett. So I get this note back that like, it's a not now, which isn't a no. And it's something I probably need to follow up with again, but I've also gotten a million yeses, like Jessica Alba doing my interview series. She was the first one to come on board. Like the most extraordinary things have come from these outrageous asks. So they're fun. You can lob them out. You do one a week. You've got 52. Is it 52 or 54? How many months are in a year?
52.
Thank you. You've got 52 asks a year, like just hanging out there, like little Easter eggs. And if even one comes true, can change your life. Like it can truly change your life. So maybe we could load some of those up, an outrageous ask that someone wants to take. I'd love to see what
I'll
those
tell
are.
you, I'm working on one for KG, and I don't even know if you know this. So I'm working on getting Lindsey Vonn to ski with you, which
Stop.
which would have been easier had she not come back to all this acclaim.
Yeah, now that she's professionally racing again.
That's
one of my
throwing a wrench in the works. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
I'll donate to her charity. I'll do whatever I need to do.
Trust me.
I love that woman.
I've got
one run. I want one run with her.
I know. Well, I'm working on it. Hopefully it will happen. Talk about the Oprah thing, because getting interviewed by Oprah is insane. How did it happen? And how did you not throw up on your shoes when you were like, let's go, it's go time?
Well, who here, like, I'm sure, well, I guess we can't do hand raises, but I'm sure so many of you, like, she is our great godmother, right? Like, meeting her is akin to meeting like just about, the greatest idol icon you can imagine. And so she'd been on my vision board for like years and years and years. I had a member of my team actually comp up an image of her interviewing me, which was really lifelike, like on stage. And that was on my vision board. I love actually comping things. It's a really fun trick to like take things beyond the traditional scrapbook vision board and actually like put yourself in the scene. So if you have a designer you can access, or you can just like cut things out that have your picture in it too and superimpose that, I find it's like super effective. But yeah, I got a call from one of her producers that she was randomly doing a topic on joy and ended up getting interviewed, participating. We start talking and it was all virtual. The lights in my house started flickering. This has never happened before. And all of a sudden, all the electricity went out. And it was like this spontaneous electric boom. She's, I'm in the dark. She had to field it to someone else. She comes back on, total pro, was able to pivot. And it was just got internet working again. But it was just one of the most extraordinary life moments. And then she hung out after and wanted to talk, asked Stedman to open up the windows so she could smell the rain. It was like, just kept talking and talk. I think it was like an hour more after we were done recording. And it was the most surreal life experience. I'm actually going to see her in 2 more weeks. Her and Maria Shriver are doing something together that I was invited to. So I'm going to be with her in the flesh. So I'm just hoping not to lose my SHIT and keep it together, not make them regret having me in the room.
Incredible. So I could be wrong on this, but I feel like, because I follow, we correspond and I follow like what's going on with you. I feel like you're in this season where you're trying on a lot of outfits to see what you like best. I think even like geographically, like you're in Connecticut, you're in New York City, you're in Beverly Hills, like you're speaking, you're, doing TV stuff, you're doing so many different things. Is that kind of where you're at, figuring all this stuff out at this point? Because you've already grown a very successful company.
Yeah, like to me, that is the core business that I built has, been responsible for $500 million. Like it was a very sizable, serious, real business. And to me, the greatest thing that money affords is the freedom to then pursue your passions. And the first, decade for me in my business was really about reputation and like proving credibility and proving that I was the real deal. And this next decade is really about impact. And so figuring out what are the right channels. I'm kind of channel agnostic, and you're right, I'm playing. It's like a jungle gym right now. I'm like, is it public speaking? Is it more television shows? Is it more books? Is it podcasting, which I just started, and we've got this like roaring success of a business podcast out of nowhere, like just playing, right? Like, and that's also just the fun of life. Like, if you can play in the sandbox and, you know, futz around a little bit, why not? So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm not married to anything. I'm not committed to the how of it all. All I am focused on is the vision and the broader intention that ideally my work has some positive impact in the world.
Super cool. You ready for some questions?
Yeah, hit me, guys.
All right. Where are we going first? We are going to Linda McGuigan. Linda, you are up with the great KG.
Oh, Linda, we can't hear you.
Oops, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
May I call you KG? Is that
Yeah.
it's such a pleasure. Such a pleasure to be with you here today, and thanks for spending time with us. I could picture you walking around a college campus. I mean, you look so young and you're so vibrant. I find people like you fascinating that have, you know, are obviously following their dreams and obviously living their purpose. And my question to you is, at what age did you decide that this is kind of what you wanted to be doing that has evolved into where you are today? And I know you're still, you know, the sky's the limit. Your life could go a lot of different directions. But at what age did you say, you know, like I want to serve others. I want to be with people. I want to, as opposed to going, you know, with your education and credentials, go to IBM and be a senior global VP of sales or something like that. Which is the route I took. I took the corporate world. Mm-hmm. When did you decide this is what you wanted to be, this type of leader?
Did you go to IBM, by the way? Is that the corporation?
No, I was in telecom. So first I went to US Tel, which became Sprint, and then I went to AT&T. So I spent my world with technology behemoths. Wow. And now I've been with startups for the past 10 or 15 years, which is a lot more fun. But I'm fascinated because I remember one of my early mentors was a guy by the name of John Maxwell, who you probably, I assume you know who he is. He's a big writer and kind of iconic. And I'll never forget, the first time I saw him speak was in a church. It was the year 2000. And he was probably 50 years old, late 40s. And I went up to him and I for the purpose of, I wanted to suitcase some of his training for some global AT&T training. And he said to me, you know, Linda, people come up to me all the time and say, I want to be you. I want to be John Maxwell. I want to be talking in front of all these people and all that. He says, and I always look at the person and say, well, do you want to spend the last 2 decades traveling the world, giving speeches, saying the same thing over and over, learning from people, reading, writing? All that immersion made him into what he was when I saw him standing on the stage there at the age of 49. And he's gone on to do many things since then. But I just find it fascinating, people who have the core, you know, direction, the intuition, the commitment to go in the direction you have gone to a position of influence. Because you're a young lady that, you know, 2 or 3 decades from now will look back and you will have done enormous things to influence people, enormous. And so I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, it was a meandering path. I remember in my 20s, I had this quote from Diane von Furstenberg in my little gray felt cube that said, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew the sort of woman I wanted to become. And I kept waiting for my purpose to hit me. Like I thought you have this special purpose. And then one day it's like a lightning rod and it just, you know, shoots down from above. And I thought there was something, I was so hungry for it for like a decade and just, you know, I wanted one and women I admired seemed to have one and where do I go to get mine? And it just didn't come, you know, it wasn't coming. And so it was really interesting. I, at least for me, in my experience, it came from a place of finally realizing that it's not, you don't get that vision or that purpose in a loud moment. It's in the quiet whispers. You know, it's in the quiet whispers. And then once you can kind of make contact with the truth of who and what you are, you're able to start to visualize and create a vision for your life. And I love this idea. You know, I think we're so limited in our visioning. Like, you think about what is realistic in a lifetime. And so when I vision, I'm thinking, what could I do, create, be, have if I had 10 lifetimes? Like, what would that look like? And it is so vibrant and alive in my mind's eye, the sort of like the scale and volume of impact that I want to have in the world and the things that I want to go and co-create with people. It's something that initially, I kept very private because it feels crazy and delusional. And then I think, again, the more you come to know yourself and you get comfortable in your own skin and you age, and you're then comfortable starting to encourage others to do some of that big visioning as well. But I'm
great answer. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I see a big pocket of influence where you could really make a difference is women coming out of college. Young women coming out of school, college, and having all those choices, to give them the message that, it will come to you. You do have the power to make the right decision at the right time. I mean, that kind of encouragement is just priceless.
Yeah.
Just priceless.
No one really
gets
the bridge then. Yeah. Thanks for that, Linda.
All right. We're going to New York. Melanie Fox, you're up.
What's up? Hey. Okay. So hi, I'm Mel. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. And I was very intrigued when you mentioned about the big was it audacious? No, big outrageous, right? Scott was audacious. You're outrageous. Big outrageous ask. And I kind of am torn sometimes between sort of this, like, you only have one chance to make a first impression, and like go big or go home, or go big now, or, and I know, a lot of times the time is now, but do you have any special, whether it's hacks or tips and tricks or just thoughts on when and how to do your big ask? What is there something where you're like, okay, it's always sooner rather than later? What are your lessons learned that you can share about the big outrageous ask?
The idea that we only have one shot, I think, is the scarcity mindset, right? Versus like having an abundant mindset. And you can fire as many of these as you want. You can come back to someone as many times as you want. It doesn't mean they're going to respond to you, but like, there's no limit. So I think like take those shackles off and just imagine like this whole thing is limitless, and you can reach out to anyone you want. You can make any ask you want. I tend to do it from a place of like, what would be really fun for me? Like, what would just light me up? Like eating at Aaron French's restaurant. Like Scott knows, I've been trying to get with Aaron French, who has something called the Lost Kitchen. We all love it, right? Okay. I said, last time I saw Scott, I said, you guys have to go watch her show. It's like, it's so amazing. Anyway, I shot her a note. It was like, let's you and me get to her. She wasn't interested. I'm working on the next thing, but I think I was willing to drive to Maine just to have that conversation and get to know her. So I think just think about also, what are you moved and inspired to do to take outrageous, audacious action? And that shows up in your email, right? Like, or your phone call, or however you reach out. I had a senior in college who went to UNC, my alma mater, wanted to intern for me, work for me. She had everyone in her whole marketing class send me notes across Instagram, LinkedIn, all within a 24-hour period. Like it was a barrage. Like I was forced to pay attention. So I think, just think about the action that you can take and make it as whatever makes you feel juicy and like excited and energized. That's what's going to come, that's what comes through on the other side. Go for it. What's one you can make? Do you have one right now that's like sitting on your heart?
Yes, I am. I want to reach out to the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Specifically, I'd love to reach out to Dana White or Joe Rogan, but really what I want to do is coach fighters so that they could speak English clearly. A lot of the fighters don't speak English, so they will use an interpreter. And I'm obsessed with that sport, watching it, not actually doing the sport. And so I don't have any natural connections to Joe or Dana, but my thought is if I get in, I will be of service and I will love every second of it. And I write to fighters sometimes and they give me little muscle icons, like do it. And then I'm like, all right, when are we going to speak? And they're like, ghost. So and then I'll be like, are you sure you want to do this? Thumb. But so I'm trying to do some things now, but I think I need to be more strategic and probably go bigger or go.
Oh my gosh, there's someone in the group who has connections to the UFC and MMA. So there you go. Done and done.
Hey, thank you.
So top down.
And Melanie's a smarty pants. She's a Georgetown grad. She's unbelievable at what she does. Alex Smith in Florida, who I just saw in Atlanta Sunday. Alex, you're up.
And whom has an amazing video of Scott dancing to Little John. And we all met Little John for everyone on the call. So, Melanie, I want to hear that story when that happens. That's amazing. So I have a story, Kathleen. You made me think of a story, a question, and an ask. And I promise to be really, really quick with all these. You made me think through that 60 outrageous asks. Like, I don't do that consistently. I did it. I probably spent 4 months trying to ask Dan Pink, who's a Wall Street Journal bestselling author, has been on amazing stages, to come on my podcast. Because I literally started a podcast called Sell by Being Human off of his book. And I thought, no way he would say yes to little me. My friend said, why wouldn't you ask him? The least he would say is no. So I did. And long story short, it was just an email connecting something that was personal to him. I met him. It was an email that just said elevators, mops, Einstein, ? And it connected those things about how I met him in an elevator, a quote from Einstein, and a story of a Fuller mop salesman from his book. And he said, I can do it. It might take a few months, but stay with me. And I kept on going. And you just made me think of that. But that's the last one I've done. And that was like 2 years ago. So like, why not do it every month? So.
And with that format too, I mean, how brilliant to have like a zinger of an intro line and something that like really captures people's attention.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
He agreed to be on it. And it was amazing. It took 3 months and it was awesome. My question before my ask is, what did you ask Warren Buffett? What was your ask in the 5 minutes? If you made it, I assume, to the Egg McMuffin line, or did you? Or what? I did.
He said not now, but he chuckled and loved it and thought it was so funny. But that was really the genesis for me then, like codifying this idea in my head of like, oh, outrageous ask. This can be something I do on a regular basis, because I actually heard back from someone that I never would have expected to hear back from in a million years. And so, that was huge. I did get McDonald's. I did their keynote for the whole company. So I don't know, this year in Las Vegas, I don't know if that somehow serendipitously, weirdly got called. That wasn't exactly what I had in mind, but I'll take it.
I love it. I love the favorite ask story. So I'm going to put myself out there. Like the podcast I do, Scott's been on it. Linda, I see a bunch of people. Lindsay Dowd's been on it. So many amazing people. It's about how we're all in sales, but not in the icky sense of the word, about how we all sell things through the lens of human connection, through like it, just kind of understanding what someone's thinking, feeling, that sort of thing. I would love to send you some episodes. You're probably super busy, but even considering it at all would be amazing, because I think you'd be exactly why I started it. And I only, I ask people that I really feel like are exhibiting, what I do in the podcast. So
it's shoot it my way. I was actually doing a speaking event with Reese Witherspoon, who's one of my business partners, and we talked about the outrageous ask, and then every single person in the audience sent me an outrageous ask after, and I was like, I need to caveat that if I am uniquely suited for the outrageous ask, that's one thing, but I can't unfortunately field a volume of then 50 hours of follow-ups after. Shoot, that's awesome. Shoot it to me and I'll take a look.
Yeah, you made me think I could do it in a more, like, I've literally just lost it. I can do it in a more systematic way and think about it. And I liked how you said, be willing to do outrageous things to support that outrageous ask. So that stuck with me. Yeah.
Shirley Baez, you're up.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
Is Shirley still with us?
I am.
There she
Can you
is.
hear me? Hold on.
Hello, Shirley.
Let me hear me now. I was on my Bluetooth.
Oh yeah, we got you.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I was driving, had to stop. But thank you so much, Kathleen, for today. You've given us so many golden nuggets. My question I posted on the chat is, what would be your advice to those, starting their business or have been in their business and planting seeds, but not yet have seen the full, fruits of the labor yet?
Patience. It is so, I really underestimated how long it takes. You plant the seed, you're watering it, you're then trying to pick it up out of the ground, see if it's got any germination happening, putting it back down in, watering it some more, watering, tending, sowing, planting. And you're like, where's the dang tree? Where's the flowers? What is happening here? And I think that is honestly, that's one of the most unspoken and just ruthlessly hardest parts of being an entrepreneur, because the money isn't necessarily coming in at times, right? Or you don't have the success to show for like all of your labor and your hard work, and there isn't kind of that one-to-one, I did this, and I got this outcome. But I believe, and based on the tens of thousands of people that I've spoken to and that I've come to know, it's just a waiting game. And a lot of times, if you keep putting, systematically, consistently the effort in day after day after day, and you just keep showing up and your intention is like pure and good, eventually the outcome starts. And then once you get enough of those under your belt, you're like, okay, I can wait, right? Like during those seasons of just waiting and the discomfort of that all, you can kind of bear it a little bit more because you're like, I've been here, like I've been here, but I've been there and I get it. And that's when most people quit. And that's why less than 50% of businesses survive. Like people quit for good reason, because you just, you max out.
Yeah, it's not for the faint at heart, that's for sure. But if if you feel it, there's something in me that just feels that it's right there. It's right there. Something that tells you, don't quit. Just keep on a little bit more every day, and it's right around the corner. So thank you.
Yeah. I'm rooting for you.
This really is a blueprint. I mean, a lot of people say that about their books, but this book really kind of walks an entrepreneur step by step. There's also in the back, there's a lot of like do-it-yourself type of stuff. It's really, really good. It's a very powerful book for anyone, especially if you're a new entrepreneur. And Shirley's transitioning out of the military, so it's this is. I think it'd be great for you. You'd love it.
Yeah, I'll look for it.
Perfect. We're going to Mark Jarrow.
Hi. So a couple questions. So definitely, if you don't ask, I asked Heather Monahan. This was about 2 years ago to be on my friend's podcast, and she said yes. So if you don't ask, you don't get. But the question I have for you is, what takes you to get out of bed every morning with everything you have going on? What do you look forward to?
Well, I love my life. I wouldn't trade my life with any other person on the planet. Like it is so perfectly imperfect. And I think it takes a long time to get to that point where it's like you've created a bespoke suit for yourself. It's not the life that you would want, or Melanie would want, or Linda would want, or Alex would want, but like it's perfect for me because I've just gotten rid of anything that doesn't fuel my spirit and doesn't energize me. I say no to so much. And, I've just got a great life. Like I meditate every morning, move my body, work with people I love. I'm constantly doing new things. As Scott said, like every day is a different day. I'm grateful, it's good. It's like, it's not just good. It's great. It's a great life.
And
I
which
think,
part, I'm sorry, and which part of that makes you more financially secure, that we all have to have a house, a roof over our head and food on our table? Which one of those pursuits?
well, pretty much, everything that I do has a financial component to it, because you have to be able to support yourself, and you've got to be able to support your family and those you care about, and you want to ideally give back to the community and be able to fund things that, help other people too. And so I think it's almost a misnomer for us to have the mindset that those things need to be separated. Like I think it creates a lot of unnecessary friction when you think that you can't love what you're doing and also make a lot of money doing it.
Right.
So everything I do is, it's not all altruistic. Like I'm making money doing it.
And you're having fun.
Yeah.
Or enjoying it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, our cleanup hitter. I've never seen Lindsay Dowd in Boston. I'm like, I knew instantly she was sick. Because Lindsay's typically jumping out of the screen. Lindsay, you're a cleanup hitter.
Oh, thanks, Scott. Yeah, no, I sound like I'm in the basement with my voice, and I'm on my phone, so I'm like teeny tiny. I can barely see anything. Kathleen, thank you. This has been such a phenomenal hour, and I think my question was kind of already asked, but first I just want to say 23 years at IBM. So I was laughing when Linda was talking before, and I'm a diehard Aaron French fan. So if you want to take that road trip, I am totally happy to drive, pay for gas, whatever. My question was going to be, what has been the most creative, outrageous ask that you've received? You kind of alluded to the barrage and a few others. I'm just curious what's really stood out.
I don't actually, like, they haven't been that crazy, to be honest. Like, they've actually been like the outrageous asks I get are like, could you read my movie script and see if you know any producers who might be interested in Hollywood? Or, it's kind of like
boring,
practical.
Yeah.
And I just think, again, that's why to just sit and have fun with them and make them like just so crazy. Like, I wish I had a better example for you, but real talk, I don't.
You have, though. You've given so many. I mean, your 5 minutes with Warren Buffett is fantastic. And I mean, just thinking like that, it's inspiring me. I have a show too. So getting these amazing guests is kind of a big deal. And I just landed a big one, which was Beyonce's dad. So he's going to do a 2-parter. But yeah, now I'm like hungry for more. So I got to like start throwing out some more big ones.
Congrats, guys. Yeah. And Scott, you'll have to keep me up to speed on like the outrageous ass that you guys get up to, because you'll be able to share with each other, and I'll have no clue. So I'd love to know.
I will keep you in the loop on all of this. Kathleen, this has been an absolute blast. Thank you for sharing the hour with us. It went by very, very quickly. But we got all the questions in, which was great. And, again, guys, I would say follow her on every chance you get. Instagram, I think she's phenomenal on Instagram, but she puts great content out through her newsletter. The book is incredible. Just everything she touches seems like it turns to gold. Even her cooking, which despite you being very self-deprecating, that was a killer meal. Meg and I were like, wow, that was really, really good. Really good. So we owe you a dinner now.
Well, I'll see you back home. And yeah, I just look forward to staying connected with you guys and rooting you on in your journeys and everything you guys are getting after. And yeah, we got to just like build together. Right. So I'm right there in the throes of building. And some days are tougher than others, but man, is it so meaningful if we can stay connected in community and then charge after like really big things. And I think, Scott, that's something you just inspire so much in others. You've created a network unlike anything I've ever seen personally, you know, a community. It really does feel like a friendship and a kindredness. And you made me feel like a friend even from the first time that I met you, you know, showing up at my book event without even knowing me and bringing a bottle of champagne. And it was just so gracious and generous of heart and spirit. And so, yeah, I'm grateful to know all of you. This was the highlight of my day, certainly, and wishing you all the best in the build.
Thank you, KG. Have a good one. We'll
Bye,
see you when
guys.
you get back.